The world does not change as a result of an announcement in this made-up scenario. Rather, it changes in a stealthy manner, in rooms that the general public never sees, and by decisions that are never voted on, debated on television, or stated in clear terms. The story starts at a time when there is a lot of stress in the global financial system, and people's faith in fiat currency is deteriorating at a rate that central banks are unable to publicly recognize. The promise of a digital currency, which was once touted as the future, has become a liability. Inflation numbers no longer calm markets, debt ceilings no longer alarm politicians, and the promise of a digital dollar has become a liability. Adoption is low, confidence is extremely precarious, and competing nations are moving more quickly than was anticipated. Within the context of this hypothetical future, an urgent gathering takes place clandestinely within the context of regular commercial gatherings. In contrast to the agenda, the location is not very noteworthy. Faith alone is not sufficient to ensure the continued existence of the digital dollar in its original form. The private markets are skeptical, the governments of other countries are cautious, and the huge institutions are discreetly signaling that the system will fail if it does not have anything to back it up. The remedy that has been discussed is quite radical, contentious, and has been purposefully concealed from official records. The use of a neutral, rapid, internationally liquid digital asset that is already incorporated into payment rails with the purpose of providing partial collateralization. The asset in question is XRP in this narrative. In reality, the fictional command is about mathematics, and it has nothing to do with speculating or appreciation of prices. A percentage of the digital dollar must be linked to something external, rare, and instantly settlable, according to the models that are used internally. This is necessary in order for the digital dollar to be able to issue trillions of dollars in supply while still maintaining its credibility overseas. The price of gold is simply too sluggish, the price of treasuries is too political, and Bitcoin, well, it is too volatile and too concentrated. You should be aware that the system requires an asset that is intended for throughput rather than ideology. Rather than being the result of hype, the number is derived from equations. Within the context of this story, analysts came to the conclusion that in order for XRP to function as 40% collateral support for the anticipated supply of digital dollars, each token must represent an enormous amount of valued assets. Anything lower than that breaches the ratios, and anything higher than that generates rigidity in the system. The amount of $18,356 per XRP is the figure that strikes a balance between liquidity, velocity, and scarcity. This is not an aim, it is not a prognosis, and it is needed. As the narrative progresses, the decision is resolved before the market is even aware that it is even a possibility. The public is not experiencing a buying frenzy. There has been no finding of prices. In contrast, accumulating takes place through routes that are not audible. Requests that are not typical are made to over-the-counter desks. When it comes to advertising quotes, liquidity providers halt. The movement of tokens follows patterns that are not similar to those of traders or whales, but rather, well, algorithms carrying out a mandate. Within this made-up universe, watchers who keep track of the activities on the blockchain start to see something that is impossible to ignore. Massive sums of XRP being transferred in perfect intervals by wallets that do not expose their identities to the public. Never does the timing become off. Price has no effect whatsoever on the volume. Unlike a market participant, it does not behave in this manner. In its behavior, it is similar to the assembly of infrastructure. Analysts are seeing themselves attempting to reverse engineer the mathematics in the scenario. In the event that the digital currency requires trillions of dollars to be issued and 40% of that amount to be collateralized, then more than 1 billion XRP must be secured instantly rather than being purchased over the course of years or progressively gradually collected. This is not about making a profit, rather it is about meeting launch dates and dealing with geopolitical pressure. The general public's reaction to the rumors that are spreading in this made-up timeframe is indeed one of disbelief. People who comment on the idea consider it to be impossible. The skeptics point to the existing pricing and, to tell you the truth, scoff at the determination. The valuation, however, is no longer the responsibility of the market in the narrative. In the design of the system, it is included. Once it is incorporated, the price is no longer a variable, but rather a parameter. An unsettling idea is investigated throughout. Get to the story. A software-driven monetary system is one in which buyers and sellers are no longer responsible for discovering value. Rather, architecture is responsible for enforcing value. In the event when a particular quantity of digital dollars is necessary to be collateralized by a single XRP, then the price of XRP is not desired. Rather, it is structural. When the price is broken, the system will come to an end. Policymakers in this hypothetical future have an understanding of something that the majority of people do not. At the moment that the digital dollar is introduced with XRP serving as collateral, it will be hard to reverse the choice. Any attempt to unravel the system would immediately shatter confidence in one's abilities, not only in the digital dollar but also in the entire monetary structure that underpins an electronic currency. As a result, the system becomes self-protective. At a later point in the narrative, a contentious access mechanism is brought up for discussion. A narrow exchange window is being quietly proposed, which would allow for limited conversion between legacy currency and the new collateral framework. This is not because the authorities wish to benefit the public, rather it is because legitimacy demands participation. The window of opportunity is limited, and there are strict restrictions that must be followed. As the story progresses, the global ramifications begin to ripple outward, international settlements begin to shift, correspondent banking models begin to collapse, payment corridors begin to reroute around slower systems, governments that adapt flourish, and nations that resist fall farther and more behind. In reality, the struggle is not waged with headlines, rather it is fought with settlement speed and liquidity density. The narrative emphasizes that there is no announcement of a reset, that there is no day one, that the shift takes place gradually and discreetly until one day the old system feels antiquated, that people do not wake up experiencing wealth or poverty, but rather that they wake up operating inside. When money becomes programmable, collateralized, and enforced by code rather than faith, the question arises as to who actually controls value. Who are these governments? Do you mean institutions, or is it the structure of the building itself, following the rules without showing any compassion or mercy, as the case may be? The audience is left feeling uneasy as a result of the false finale. The amount of $18,356 was never associated with a profit. The issue was one of survival. In the same way that a bridge requires steel of a particular strength, the system required that number in order to function properly. If it is too weak, it will fall apart. If it is too powerful, it will no longer be usable. For the sake of clarity, this narrative is not intended to represent a prediction. There is no news to report, and it is not advice on finances. It is a speculative investigation into how fragile, programmable, and quietly changeable modern finance has become, and, to tell you the truth, how swiftly the rules may alter if trust were to be broken at the highest levels. Final thought seems to linger for a while. Given that money is updated in the same way that software is, it is possible that the most significant changes will never be announced at all. It is important to keep in mind that I am not a licensed financial counselor. The content that is displayed in these videos is solely intended for the purpose of providing amusement. Before making any decisions regarding their finances, I always recommend viewers to do their own study and seek the advice of professionals. Many thanks for taking the time to listen. I would appreciate it if you could give the video a thumbs up and make sure to hit the subscribe button if you found it entertaining. You should also make sure that the alerts are turned on so that you are the first to know when I publish new video content. I am looking forward to catching up with you in the video that is coming up. Take care of yourself.